Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Jesus Humberto Perez. I am presenting on behalf of our research team, Dr. Julio César Villagrán, Dr. Alberto Escobedo Portillo, and myself, all from Tecnológico Nacional de México, Campus Chihuahua. Today, we present a study titled Process Formalization in Public Higher Education Institutions, an Organizational Analysis. This is the diagnostic phase of a larger research project, and what I will share with you today are the findings that establish the evidence base for an intervention model we are now developing. The project examines the organizational conditions of a public graduate institution in Chihuahua, Mexico. The purpose is to build evidence base for designing a process formalization model. The institution trains teachers and school administrators through graduate programs in education, mostly. It operates under state regulations and has been running for over 30 years now. Well, now I will proceed to the research problem. Public higher education institutions across Latin America share a pattern that research has documented repeatedly. Their academic and administrative processes were built over time without a plan. Operations depend on what individual staff members know from experience rather than on documented systems, right? A study conducted by Torres Barreto and others conducted in 2026 on a Colombian public university found 86 academic and administrative procedures operating without standardization. Different departments, different people carried out the same task in different ways. And the research team used participatory workshop surveys and interviews to document the analysis and developed three institutional manuals that brought those 86 procedures into a common framework. After the intervention, staff reported improved perceptions and fairness on operational efficiency. Another study conducted by Cajamarca Chalco in 2025 on graduate programs in Ecuador, they applied a process and enterprise maturity model to evaluate academic processes, and they found them at level P0. This is the lowest level in the model. This means that no documentation existed, no performance indicators were in place, and no evaluation mechanisms had been established. You can see that this is not a problem unique to one institution or just one country. It is a regional pattern and it happens in many institutions across Latin America and in this case, in Mexico specifically. To describe the institution under study, this institution is a public agency of the state of Chihuahua, Mexico. It was founded in 1994. It offers three graduate programs in education, one specialization, one master's degree, and a doctorate program. It has 30 full-time faculty professors, 14 administrative staff, and around 478 students across the three delivery modes. Um, there is something important here that most of the positions in the institution are not defined by uh, manuals or guidelines. There are no written documents that describe the functions, the procedures, or performance criteria for any position in the institution. And this absence causes functions to overlap between areas, activities to be duplicated, and the execution of tasks to depend on each person's individual judgment rather than on institutional procedure, right? So this one is like the main problem under this situation. We have some related work, one conducted by Walpa Medina in 2027. They applied the ISO 9001 based diagnosis of degree processes in 27 programs in different universities. They found gaps in indicators, or they were monitoring these gaps for indicators, And they conducted their structure results using a scoring system based on quality policy, objectives, and indicators. The main gaps that they found were in performance and monitoring mechanisms. Another study conducted by Duarte and Martins proposed adapting the MMI and the PPMM maturity models to the university context. They worked with a Portuguese institution and concluded that the original models designed for the software industry needed modification and feed for organizational complexity of universities. So many of the processes that have been conducted in the studies have been conducted or have been applied to industry models, but not to public educations, which is what we're trying to do now. The last study conducted by Calderon Hernandez and others, um, they worked also with culture as a positive antecedent of the BPM success. So organizations must prepare cultural conditions before implementing this process management. Okay. The theoretical framework, or some of the theoretical framework related to this work, is the professional bureaucracy um, that was conducted by Mintzberg. The CCI model, which is require standardization by Nanaka and Takushi. This is converting tacit knowledge into explicit procedures or manuals. And of course, the BPM lifecycle by Damas. In low maturity organizations, interview-based and workshop-based discovery are the primary data collection methods. Okay. So the research objective is to conduct an organizational diagnostic that identifies the gaps between the formal structure and the operational dynamics of the institution, document the maturity level of its processes, and recognizes the conditions that have limited their formalization. That would be the research objective. The methodology conducted in this study was a mixed methods methodology based on three evidence sources triangulated. The first one was a documentary analysis based on work plans, functions, descriptions, organizational chart, and internal regulations of the institution. The second source was a perception instrument based on 38 liquored items plus six open questions. It included five dimensions and it was applied to 18 members of the staff. That means 41% of the staff. It was complemented with interviews and direct observation. And the third source was a BPMM maturity criteria. It was a verification matrix against 9 process areas of the BPMM level 2. That is the standard. And at the end, the three sources were triangulated. Each finding from the documentary analysis was checked against the perception data, and both were interpreted through the maturity framework. A finding was considered confirmed only when at least two of the sources converged. So that was like very important. Some of the findings from the documentary analysis are that the organizational chart does not reflect the actual operations. Commissions perform coordination functions not shown in the formal structure. Also, that only senior leadership positions have written function description, and this is because they are regulated by external sources. No rating procedures for any of the academic processes, not even one, like enrollment, grading, degree processes, and advising operate without documentation. And the external regulations are not translated into external steps. The Some of the sources that validate the process of the institution, they work as external and they coordinate well, but they're not translated into what happens inside the organization. These are the results or the findings from the perception survey. As you can see, the survey was divided in five dimensions. The first one is structure and functions. This is the adjusted mean. If the mean, in this case, is closer to 5, that means that's favorable. But if the value is close to 1, that means that it's unfavorable or critical. Here we can see the dimensions, structure and functions. It is the adjusted mean, 3.12, which is a mixed condition. Structure and functions is not that bad. Then we can see institutional communication. It is 2.73. That's unfavorable. Process documentation, 2.47, unfavorable. And then here we can see the operational efficiency, which is 2.16. That's critical. That was the one of the most negative um, items, and it was considered critical under the D4 dimension. We have an example here of the D3, which is process documentation. As we can see, I learned my processes through practice, not from a manual. And we have a 78% full agreement. Well, that's unfavorable as we can see. But then we have here the D5. I would participate in documenting processes. 18 of 17 of the participants responded and agree. That's a very positive finding. That means that they're willing to participate and to document the processes that they work with. Then here we have the third instrument, which is a maturity assessment that we can confirm the BPMM level 1. Triangulation of the three evidence sources confirms the institution operates at level 1. That is the initial of the BPMM, Business Process Management Model. The processes are executed ad hoc without written procedures. The outcomes depends on individual staff, not institutional systems. No performance indicators for any of the operational processes. Operational knowledge is a tacit and undocumented, and the management is reactive, not planned. This is also very important. All the 6 documentary findings were confirmed by the perception survey. Enrollment was identified as the most critical undocumented processes. 7 spontaneous mentions, and you can see that through how they do it. The main perceived barrier was organizational culture, as confirmed before. Okay. So these are the conclusions we came up, or we diagnosed 3 basic conclusions. The first one was the operational knowledge exists but resides in people, not in systems. So that's what we are trying to change, and that's what they mentioned. Every personal change risk losing institutional knowledge. The second one, communication operates through informal channels. The mean here was 0.28. Decisions are distorted as they flow between levels, so no formal communication. And the third one, the barrier is not staff resistance. Staff are willing, the barrier is the structural and institutional situation. Process in this institution involves work practices, coordination mechanisms, and organizational dynamics built over 3 decades. That's why it requires simultaneous intervention on structure, processes, and also culture. These are the contribution and the next steps that we're going to follow. An updated organizational chart based on actual operations, of course. Not just from formal chart that does not reflect operations. A job description manuals for all the positions. Academic, administrative, managerial with defined functions, responsibilities, and performance criteria. Documented procedures for all critical processes with flow diagrams in the BPM and notation showing the sequence of steps, the actors involved, and the expected timelines and expectations. A value analysis program that classifies every activity as value adding necessary but no value adding or waste, and then to eliminate or simplify accordingly. And a document repository with version control of the documents so the procedures are accessible, searchable, and not dependent to anyone's memory. And a training program so that the staff can adopt and use the new processes. Okay, this study contributes empirical evidence from an institutional context that is not well represented in the process management literature. And a small public graduate institution under state regulation with high dependence on tacit knowledge and organizational model that combines formal positions with informal commissions.